Right. It's the news I didn't see coming. It's the news I didn't know I needed. It's the news I was very much excited to hear about. Absolutely huge. Announced in recent days, the UK is set to host the 2035 Women's World Cup. The UK is the sole valid bidder for the tournament. Spain's federation president said recently they were working on a joint bid alongside Portugal and Morocco. However, the deadline for expressions of interest passed last Monday.
What a surprise.
Not like the Spanish federation to get something wrong. We saw the spike that Euro 2022 had on women's football in this country. Just how huge do we think this would be? And why do we not? Why are we the sole bidders? Why do we think this? I was trying to think back to the kind of
FIFA.
Yeah, fair play.
You can have it. I not that I find it hard to get excited about, but like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing when I'm 46 in 10 years' time. I feel like we'll be living on a ranch in Canada. I think me and Sophie, we'll come back for it, you know. But
what are you talking about? It'll be
that's my retirement
15th
plan.
Season of Upfront by then.
No.
So
Jesus, I'll be dialing in.
So rein it in. You still have to come back and be at the studio. I don't know what you're talking about a fucking ranch in Canada for.
The Wi-Fi will be shite, that's for sure. I find it hard to get excited for it because it feels so far away. But I also think in so many like events and kind of conferences and stuff, we're like, where do you think women's football will be in 10 years' time? So it's really hard to imagine how impactful something like this will be, because we expect women's football to be so far ahead in 10 years' time that not that this wouldn't have an impact, but it wouldn't have, I don't think, necessarily the same impact the Euros had on women's football in England. Mm-hmm. Because I'd like to think we wouldn't be in a situation where we've got so much room left to improve and expand. And there'll always be things we can improve and expand and whatever else. But like,
and there's not that over-reliance on a major tournament. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And when you think of like men's football and their ceiling for maybe not progress, but like how much more it could grow, it's very small. And I'd like to think like I imagine like the women's football ceiling's friggin' huge, right? And it's so much opportunity. I'd like to think that's a lot smaller by the time we get around to a World Cup in England in 2035. But still, I still think, you know, major tournaments have such an impact and it brings so many people together. And we've seen it like in Australia, just anecdotally on the street, like listening to people talking about it, having all the coffee shops saying like go Tillies on their blackboards outside. Every pub is showing it, like every kind of the fan zones are all full, like stuff like that stick with me. And I'd like to think that would continue over into a major tournament in 2035 where you've got people out in beer gardens and, you know, huge big screens in, I don't know, Hyde Park and stuff, watching games. That's the kind of vibe you want to get from a major tournament. So it could be really cool.
Oh my God, I absolutely cannot wait. I mean, likewise, I'm going to be 45 by that point. And I think if women's football hasn't broken us by then, I'm really looking forward to what that's going to bring the country. I think, obviously, we're coming off the back of the Euros, you know, England getting into the World Cup final. We've now got, you know, another tournament to look forward to this year and then the World Cup in 2027. And it kind of feels like it's really important to have those kind of really key milestones to keep building towards, not only the major competitions, but selfishly, obviously, to have those in the UK and to kind of have those really special moments to build on the legacy that the Lionesses have created. But yeah, and also, I mean, at the moment, we are still at a stage where the success of major tournaments and having major tournaments still impacts the domestic leagues too. So it's kind of, there's a win there for me. But I think it's just that kind of, to be a part of, I mean, you never know, you're never guaranteed a World Cup in your your own country in your lifetime. So to have that now on the horizon for me feels, just for me personally, obviously feels really special.
But I can already see the stories and the articles, you know, looking back at when the Lionesses won the Euros for the first time. And there's going to be, articles with a Leah Williamson or an Ella Toone or a Chloe Kelly, you know, looking back and like bringing them onto TV shows and being like,
they're going to be the punditry team.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They're going to be the stories that we're bringing out and talking about legacy and how the game changed. And they're going to be the players that are going to be brought back onto things and saying like, back when, do you remember, you know, summer 2022, what was it like? So that's going to be really weird.
Or will Lucy Bronze still be the first choice right back in 10 years time?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
That's
she'll
horrible.
like robot knees by then. She'll be grand.
This would be the first time a FIFA World Cup takes place on British shores since 1966, the glory days that me and Rach didn't see. Well, I didn't. Rach might have. England failed to win the right to host the Men's World Cups in both 2006 and 2018. So it really would be a massive, massive win to have a Women's World Cup here in 10 years' time. The bulk of the games obviously expected to be hosted in England and the final expected to be at Wembley. Going back to Wembley and seeing a World Cup game in my lifetime feels like an absolute moment of magic. Obviously, Manchester United, who have given so much care and thought to women's football over the years, and given their plans now for a 100,000 capacity stadium, could also be a focal part of the tournament. That's really nice that they haven't really cared much about women's football, but by 2035, they'll be integral to the bid. The FA's CEO, Mark Bullingham, confirmed United would be consulted to ascertain whether their stadium can be included in November's formal bid submission.
No, thank you. I'm so sorry. Like, why are they even getting a mention here? Do you know what I mean? Like, the fact that they've had to say it publicly almost to shame Manchester United into, you have to say yes now because we've just told everyone that your wonderful new stadium might be part of it. So I feel like Jim Ratcliffe will still turn around and go, no.
Listen,
2035, Mark Skinner has signed yet another contract extension.
Honestly, absolutely baffling. But also, I mean, really super promising that obviously, you know, 100,000 capacity stadium is something that could be seen as a real focal point, because you look at like the crowds that we were getting for the Euros. Obviously, so much disappointment around the Euros final in Switzerland being only 37,500 capacity. Good from them. So yeah, it kind of feels like we're going to be at a stage where 100,000 for a sell. I don't have any concerns about a sellout at that stadium.
I can already see the storylines then. Do you remember back 10 years ago when Manchester United cared so little about their women's team? Look where we are now. Like, you can already see the narratives.
Oh, God, it's so difficult to support them. Before this, though, the 2031 World Cup is going to be held in the US. Gianni Infantino also confirmed that this World Cup will be a 48-team tournament, up from 32 in 2027. What do we think about the expansion? And just to add context to that, the Men's World Cup next year will also feature 48 teams. My thoughts are it's a good thing. I really like it.
I remember when they expanded for the 2023 World Cup, and I was really nervous about it. And I thought it was too quick. And I was proven wrong. And I was happy to say that after the World Cup, many teams...
What a rare occasion that is.
So many teams showed up. So many teams played well. There were so many kind of firsts for teams, first goals, first wins, you know, qualifying. So yeah, I think it was pretty special. And by 2027, you know, this will be 2031. Yeah, again, you think women's football will be in a different place, and it will be offering opportunities to lesser funded teams, lesser known teams, and hopefully it gives them the leg up that they deserve and shines a spotlight on that they deserve. I think it's really interesting how quickly the women's game is being grown by FIFA in comparison to the men's. Like the fact that it'll be the first time for the men's and almost immediately it'll be happening in the women's game, I find interesting. But yeah, so given I was wrong about 2023, I imagine it could be a very influential decision.
100%. And I think, like you said there, we've still got 6 years until that tournament takes place.
It's so hard to think, Chloe. I can't even think about next week. It's so hard to be thinking about tournaments so far away.
Well, you'll be in Canada by that point, so maybe you won't even care. No. Not that I'm bitter about it, but whatever. If you want to,
we'll have a granny flat so you can visit.
All right, thank you. All right, that'd be nice. We can record podcasts in there. That'd be really sweet. But no, I do think it's a good thing. I do think the more exposure that countries can get on an international level is so much more better for the players and the federations themselves. I think obviously it increases kind of investment, awareness. Being a part of the broadcast deals is obviously going to be a good thing as well. So yeah, I am all for the additional exposure. But yeah, I think you also have to flag, you know, there will be some nations that maybe won't be in the place that you want them to be, and also those kind of tournaments also highlight the inequalities and things that still exist. So, and obviously sometimes it sort of embarrass nations to do more about themselves. So also a positive maybe for that.